We shall not start the podcast with a burp. Whether I ate a whole pizza or not, that's just not right.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Geek Reloading podcast. I'm your host, Adam. And as always, my co-host right here is Josh.
Hi.
And so, by request from our good friends at Random Note, we are making an episode of how to a gaming introduction into getting yourself into gaming and or getting your spouse or significant other into gaming. That's a whole big mouthful of words. That was a lot.
How to gaming introduction. There you go.
Yeah.
I
how
will
to get
say
into
this.
gaming for you and your spouse. If it was a book, that would be the title.
There you go. Now we need to write a book. That's it. That's the next.
No.
Books.
Our vocabulary is way too limited for a book.
Words.
Maybe bullet points, maybe a small PDF. We could totally do that, but a whole book, nah.
Yeah, maybe. Anyways, also, I just have to say, why did we not think of this? Why did it take smarter people than us to remind us that we should probably make this? Anyways.
Yeah, you know what? Proper planning was never our strong point. We just kind of jump right into stuff. So
we're here. We like it. Cool.
It was almost comical when they asked us that question on the episode. They were like, so how do you get into gaming? And we were like,
that's a podcast.
Well, like it's hard to say you were just born into it, but it feels that way sometimes. No, that's not it.
It does feel like it. I'm sorry. I still have that picture of your daughter with the controller that's like half her size. She was born into it.
Yeah, that's true.
You're
some
parents.
kids these days are born into it, but it doesn't mean that we were. So people that are our age, some of them don't play video games. So this is the introduction for you.
Okay, so first off, let's ask this question. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what do you want to get out of gaming? Do you want a relaxing pastime? Do you want a challenging hobby? Do you want another way to connect socially with people? These are all the questions that will give you a good starting point on where to go from there.
Yeah, because you'll definitely have a very different experience if you're trying to play like at a competitive level on Call of Duty versus wanting to just relax and fish in Animal Crossing, know?
And like both are gaming, both are fun, both are enjoyable to those people, but you really have to address why you want to get into gaming.
Yeah. So it looks like, I feel like besides those questions, like we'll just kind of go into like the intro of it. So the first off is, how much are you wanting to actually spend on gaming? Now, here's the thing. There's no wrong answer.
No.
What's really great about gaming is that the accessibility to video games in general is super, super available now. And the top example that we have is mobile gaming. Like if you have a cell phone, you can game mobilely.
Yeah, most everyone has a cell phone. Every cell phone now will play a plenty of games, and there's some really good games mobilely, and you're still gaming. That's what it is.
Yeah, and the tricky part about that specifically, though, is that a lot of games say that they're free, when in actuality, they aren't free. And you're ending up having to spend money to get extra lives or extra coins or whatever. What is cool is that there are some games that actually are free, or they go on discount for free pretty consistently. Like I've got really good games like Lara Croft Go or Monument Valley on my phone for free. It didn't cost any money because they were doing promos with the studio. So what's really cool is you can look at your Google Play or Apple or whatever, and they will tell you most of the time when there's a free game or a game that's dropped in price. And so that's a really nice way that you can kind of get into gaming.
Yeah, and it's super low barrier. I mean, you just literally go to the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, like whatever. Like it's simple and easy. Go and try stuff out. I mean, there's whole editor choices on there, and they'll help you direct to good games if you just want to try that.
Yeah. So I think that the most when people say, what do I want to do to get into gaming? Most people think console gaming.
Yes.
Now, console gaming is really cool because it's a simple barrier to entry. What we mean by that is that it's an easy way to get into video games because it's literally you're buying a machine to play video games. So
and it just works. You plug it in, you connect it to your internet, and it works. Plain and simple.
Yep. If you buy an Xbox and then you buy an Xbox game, you plug it in, you put in the disc, it's going to work. It's really nice because if you're getting into gaming and you don't feel familiar with a lot of different things, that's a really simple way because it kind of shifts the focus. You know, you're getting into video gaming. You know that you're playing a video game. It has a controller, all that kind of stuff. It's a very classic feeling of gaming.
Yeah, it was really the early gaming way of going about it. PC was the earliest, obviously, because it was built that on the PCs, but really, like, console gaming is easy, accessible, and it's common. So
yeah,
that's now, really good that way.
The next one is something that Josh actually got into much earlier on than I did, and to be completely honest, I'm still not super into it. I play this every once in a while, but Josh, the next one is PC gaming, right?
Yeah, I really wanted to put a good point on this because really when it comes to PC gaming, there is the whole gamut. Like most everyone has access to a PC or some sort of computer.
Yeah.
And it's almost as accessible as mobile gaming, but it also can go way past everything else. Like, you know, PC gaming is kind of the pinnacle of gaming. Like there's no better. You'll have the brand new console games and they're still like older PC architecture. So that's kind of the pinnacle. So you kind of run the gamut with PC gaming, but really when it comes down to it, especially starting out, you can play a lot of amazing games that on just, you know, your 5-year-old PC that has kind of been collecting dust anyways.
Yeah, the PC that you're already using, you don't have to go and buy a gaming PC to get into PC gaming. That is a nice thing about PC gaming is that you can scale the level of quality, the level of graphics, and all that kind of stuff. You have those options. That being said, PC gaming is also, I feel like, now this is going to probably get me, like, get a lot of hate from the PC bros, but I'm going to call it like I see it. They say it's a cheaper option. Nowadays, with how you can find discounts and deals on console games and systems and everything, I'm going to say, nah, bro. If you are a diehard PC gaming player, you're going to spend a lot more on gear and a lot more on other things most of the time than you are with a console, in my opinion.
I'm going to just say this. It's a level of degree. If you want best looking gaming ever, yeah, you're going to be spending quite a bit more than any console, really. True. But if you just want, you know, good fun games that you're not really worried about the graphics or anything like that, you can get a lot more interesting, fun, and just, you know, accessible games with just a basic PC. And it's really not that bad.
I'm going to throw out a disclaimer when it comes to PC gaming, though. Something that I have learned, obviously, and I think every single PC gamer learns, when you get into PC gaming, you have to be willing to troubleshoot. You have to be willing to learn and figure out stuff on your own. Because most of the time when it comes to gaming, like we were talking about consoles, you put the game in, it's going to work. With PC gaming, you have a bunch of different manufacturers making a bunch of different graphics cards, a bunch of different video cards, and sometimes things don't quite work as smoothly. Dude. And so you have to be able to troubleshoot along the way. A lot of lower end games, like, you're not going to have that problem because it's going to be pretty universal. But when you get into modding or you get into more intense games, AAA titles, you got to learn to be flexible and be willing to do your own troubleshooting.
Seriously, like I ran into this huge problem just like a couple days ago. I've been really wanting to play a couple of modded Minecrafts, and like I've been wanting to play with my buddy that's living out in Hawaii, and he, like, we're just wanting to play Minecraft together on the computer, and it is insane. You have to either get into a server or anything like that. Like, you have to build a server. It's just it's stupid how simple the game is and how complicated it is to play that game sometimes.
So you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt when it comes to PC gaming.
Yeah, that I will say on this real quick, like, Steam has been the best thing for PC gaming, in my opinion. It is simplified stuff. It has made it really easy. It's made it accessible. It's given you a great place to go find games. I mean, it's got the workshops, so you can do all the mods on different stuff. You can just try stuff out, and that is a really simple, easy way of going about it. So
Yeah.
PC is not super scary, but it can get that way if you go that direction. So
Yeah, that is something to keep in mind. Now, the next one is actually what I think one of the best ways to get into gaming.
absolutely.
Especially at an older time in your life, you know, you're gonna be able to remember that at some point in time or another, you did play some sort of video games, whether it was your friends or your family had a console or whatever. And so picking up an older system is a nice way to get into gaming again, because it's something that if you played it when you were a kid, you're familiar with it. But also, depending on the system you choose, it's a cheap and easy alternative than getting a brand new system, all the new stuff, and it's a way that you can get back into gaming without having to worry about like really like hitting that wallet.
And see, this runs a big gambit as well. Like you can go back, you can get the brand new, like I call them like collections systems, like the new Nintendo or the new Super Nintendo. Little, like it just has a collection of old games. You can go like an old system. Like currently, right now, we're in the middle. Well, we're at the very tail end
Yeah.
of systems. So they're going to be old systems now. Like you can play all these games that we've been talking about for the last few weeks. Like they're going to be super cheap because they're on the old system, quote unquote, and they're still going to
Yeah.
be supported. But even more so, you can go back into the 360. The 360 had so many amazing games. Same with the PlayStation
Yeah.
3, and you
Like
can
if I
buy
were
those for song and dance.
Yeah, if someone were to say, "Hey, I want to get back into gaming, but I want to spend a lot of money," I would recommend the 360 PS3 console gen right now. And the reason why is that it's at that sweet spot where it's not technically classic gaming, where you start seeing the prices go back up, but it's not new gaming either. So it's in that weird limbo mode where you can get games for a few dollars. You can buy systems used for 20 bucks, 30 bucks
Yeah,
at your local classifieds pages, whether it's Facebook or garage sales or whatever. Now's the time to pick up your PS3 titles. And if you're a collector, like I collect certain titles and I collect certain older stuff, but like if you're a collector, now's the time to collect for 360 and PS3 because it's not going to get any cheaper. Moving
yeah,
forward, it's going to start moving to classic.
yeah. And really, like it's at that point now. Like go on your social media and be like, look, I'm looking for a game system. I don't care what generation. Anyone got one for free that they're willing to give me?
Yep.
I'll buy you a pizza.
Yeah.
People will reach out to you.
Yeah, no, I've had friends that literally just knew that I was a gamer and they were like, "Oh, this has been our in our garage. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yeah." I don't even know what you haven't even told me what it is, but I do want it.
Yeah.
I want to see it and I want to decide if I want it or not. So I'm just going to say yes.
Yeah.
But that's because, you know, I mean, when it's a classic one or an older game system, they just don't think there's any value there sometimes. But then some of them have become the classic games and they do carry a higher price. Classic NES games, especially really good ones, they can be up to $80 to $150 on average. They can
Or
be between,
crazy.
yeah, you know.
But
So
even
it
then, like
depends.
that's a more accessible way of getting into gaming. And just the other thing is you've got a lot of history. Like the friends that are gamers that have been gamers, they can tell you, oh, you got to play this game if you got this system. Actually, you know
Yeah,
what? I've got a copy here. Just take it. I'm not going to play it again. Take it. Those are the
yeah,
kind of things. Really,
yeah.
like old systems are the way to go. Super simple.
Also, as a gamer, I've loaned out an older system to a friend because they were like, I just want to get into gaming. And I was like, yo, you can take my 360 and here's 6 killer titles. Just get it back to me in like 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's a way that you can kind of experience it because if you're asking somebody to get like let you borrow their PS4 Pro, they might be a little more hesitant, but I've got a PS3, I've got a PS2 even floating around. You know, that's a way that you can kind of learn and kind of experience gaming.
Well, and it also gives you another connection point because if you have that friend that is a gamer, like they're going to want to talk to you about gaming. If you
Yeah.
become interested, you need to. I suggest everyone come into it and say, hey, I know you like gaming. I'm really new to this. Don't overwhelm me, but, and then
Yeah.
talk to them about it.
Yeah.
Because gamers usually are very, very passionate about gaming. So
Yeah.
they sometimes need to calm down.
The last one, I think it's an important one, is that if you're getting into gaming, most of the time it is because you're trying to create a social connection of some sort, right? And so if you're going to get into gaming and it's like because I want to play with this friend or because I want to hang out with this group, just play what your friends play. Even me and Josh have had this problem because Josh wanted the Xbox and I got the PlayStation or whatever. And it makes it so then neither of us are able to connect that way anymore. And so we recommend that play what your friends are playing. So if they're all on Xbox, buy an Xbox, even if you want a PS4, because realistically, with enough AAA titles that go cross-platform, it's not going to matter. What's going to matter is if you can play with those guys or not.
Yeah, and playing with your friends and having that connection is going to be much better than the 3 or 4 like titles that are only on a certain system.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the whole fight between PlayStation, Xbox, if you play Nintendo but you're playing with friends, you're better off than that Xbox, PlayStation, freaking PC Master Race guy that has no friends. Like, you're good. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy.
If your goal is to do it, especially for social, like for a social aspect, get the system that your friends are on. Get the games that your friends are on. Because even if you don't like the game, you like the people. Like Josh got me into Battle Block Theater and Castle Crashers. I'm not a fan of beat 'em ups like that. But playing with him made me enjoy them. And now I like them. But if I played just those like on my own, I don't like them.
Yeah. And you can play like, don't look at games as the game you're playing. Look at it as experiences that you can share with friends. I mean, I have thousands of hours in Destiny 1 and 2, and it was just because I was hanging out with a friend and he was helping me through some tough times in my life. Like, we just hung out and we didn't care. We were literally just running around the world and just helping where we could, or we were collecting crap, It didn't matter what we were doing because we were just having a good time and we were just having that connection.
Yeah. So that moves us into the second phase. So if you wanted to get into gaming on your own, then cool. That was the first section of the podcast. The second section of the podcast is, say you're a gamer, but you are dating somebody or you're married to somebody who's not a gamer and you want to try and get them into gaming. Well, since both of us have people that are gamers as our spouses, I think that we have a way to say, hey, here is our list of recommendations of how to get your significant other into gaming.
And seriously, this is one of those things that it's a constant fight for people. And gamers out there, first off, don't push this stuff down people's throats. Really, if your spouse wants to play games, introduce it nicely, slowly, easily. Don't be
a dick about it. Yeah, just don't be a dick about it. Like, that's a big thing. And honestly, that going into that, especially if you're trying to get your significant other into gaming, it shouldn't be for you. It shouldn't be for your selfish reasons. What it should be is you want them to be able to experience gaming on the same level as you. So it shouldn't be this, I'm doing it for me because I want to make sure that I can play with them or whatever. So that's like the first step. We want, like I said, don't be a dick about it.
This is not a way to get a Call of Duty partner that is going to be top tier like you. This is not. Yeah. This is hey, she might just need to relax and she needs a farming simulation game or, an Animal Crossing, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It might just be a good thing for them. Just, this is not for you. If you're trying to get them, now granted, there is the question of being able to connect with your significant other better, and that is different.
Yeah. Anyways. But this is kind of like the intro primer of like ways that you can try and introduce gaming to them, because that's something where it's a little more refined. We're doing getting your significant other to gaming 101.
Yes.
Okay. So I've got the first one. So the first recommendation is start with a shorter game. The biggest reason why is because when you're first getting into gaming, you don't know if you're even going to like it or not. You don't know if they're going to like it or not. And so finding a game that has less investment, whether it means emotionally or time-wise, or it's less overwhelming, is going to help, because a lot of people aren't going to be able to jump into a game like Witcher that has 180 hours and a bunch of mechanics that you have to learn on the fly. That's not going to do very well. Ones that I recommend off the top of my head, Journey is a great one. It's literally, you don't even have a conversation. There's jumping and there's moving, and that's it. There's nothing else you can do. You can jump and float, or you can move. It's simple controls. It's a short game. It's beautiful. Another one that's like that is Abzu. That's another one. Another one that has pretty simple controls. Wolf Among Us is short and really good. And this one is one of Josh's favorite, the Portal series.
See, and this was actually the perfect one for me because I got my wife starting to play Portal with me, or she was playing the first one by herself, but this got her into the first person shooter mechanics. And she got better and better. And then, I could get her into like Minecraft, and then we started being able to play that stuff. And then she was like, you know what, I want to kill zombies. And she went Left 4 Dead. And so like it was all like letting her choose these things, but trying to help her to connect to certain mechanics and stuff like that so she could, do different things.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got the next one, man. And this is a great, great point.
So this one, it's play games based on other hobbies. Like we all like to do stuff that are not gaming as well. And there's a lot of games that connect to these other things. Reading, puzzles, action movies, all these things can be embodied with a video game that just connects you even further.
Yeah, there's a video game that plays like an action movie. There are plenty of games that are based 100% around puzzles. And even so, like Josh is saying, reading, there are games that are visual novels where literally it's kind of like choose your own adventure, but it's a video game.
Yeah,
there are ways that you can incorporate other hobbies that they're interested in. You can recommend something for them, and it'll feel very natural and intuitive because it's something they're already doing. It's just a video game form of it.
And there's also the question of something that you might not like or you don't really connect with. Like you may not be in the dating simulation situation, but your significant other might. They might really enjoy that. And, that's getting them into gaming, and it might get them into other gaming that you would be able to connect with them more, but it's still gaming and it's still a fun pastime.
Yeah. So this is one that this is a thing I learned the hard way, and that's don't try and force your favorite type of game or your type of genre of game on them. I'm a huge first person shooter type gamer, and I love those. And so my wife she had played video games and she liked certain ones. So I was like, yo, let's play Halo together, because that's what was one of my favorite things to do with all my friends. And I'm like, if I can get her to do that, that's going to be awesome. And so we fired up Halo 1, and immediately I could just tell she was not enjoying it. She wasn't digging it at all. And she's like, I just don't get the first person mechanics. I don't like this. This is kind of boring. And I was like heartbroken, and I kept on pushing it, and it just made her less and less interested in it.
Yeah, and it'll hurt that if you try to push someone into something like that, they're going to dig their heels in usually. Most humans do that. And if they don't like that, then try something else. I mean, there's always a connection. Like that was one thing with my wife, is she really liked the idea and concept of Portal, and she loves puzzles. I cannot tell you how many times she sat next to me and be like, oh, well, I think you could do this on these puzzle games, and it works. And it's just so much fun. But she wanted to try Portal because it was a cool puzzle game, and that just turned into something that was, one of my old favorite games is Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
It was a fun connection, and we went through the entire first one and then half of the second just really quick because she was into it. She had learned the mechanics enough, but really just enjoy. Let them choose as well.
Yeah, and that being said, it's not wrong for you to offer up your favorite game or your favorite genre, but just you got to be ready for them to be. They have the right to say, "Nah, bro," and then move on. You got to be flexible on that, because realistically, it may be a perfect match. They may be into shooters. They may not be, though. And so it's just don't force it. Is more than anything else.
Yeah, that kind of goes into the next thing is let them learn and discover in their own pace. Like really, don't push into it, because as soon as you start pushing, like they're gonna it's not going to be fun for them. If they
No.
want to play the same farming simulation game for 200 hours, that's them. That's fine. Like, they're gaming. You should be really
Yeah.
happy that they're gaming.
Yeah, it's still gaming. And
Yeah.
that's something that you got to figure out. I mean, honestly, my wife is one of those kind of people where she's played through Pikmin 1, 2, and 3 easily 1,000 hours each. It's not a game that I can play with her. It's not my type of game, but she's still gaming, and I am glad that she's gaming, for her own enjoyment. But it just means that we find other ways to game together. Like, we'll game next to each other. It sounds kind of sad, but it's actually really fun. She'll play Animal Crossing while I play Last of Us, but she's just sitting next to me and we're playing.
And that's a good connection. Like, that's something that you're sharing. It might not be the same game, but it's still a connection, and that's really what you're wanting in this.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Like, for me, like, I got my wife into a couple of these games, and then she started getting really good at this stuff, and then it was, oh, here's Stardew Valley, it's got a multiplayer update. Oh, well, cool, I'll play any game because I like gaming, and this game she loves. And then she was able to teach me how to play this game better, and it was such a fun turnaround because we were getting to play together, we were working together, we had our farm together. That's just a fun thing. It wasn't really my normal gaming experience, but it was gaming with someone that I love and enjoyed company of. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that kind of leans back into, well, this kind of covers the don't be a dick about it as well. But another thing, don't shame them for their interests in gaming if they differ from yours. Like, I'm horror shooter action oriented all through and through, and my wife is Stardew Valley, farm simulator, casual gaming, Animal Crossing, casual gaming. But if I were to shame her for her kind of games, or if she were to shame me, it'll cause problems. So don't do that. That's like a simple one. You don't have to go into it.
Well, and also, like, leave your opinions at the door in a lot of ways, because if your significant other is playing on her tablet or on her phone, that's still gaming. That's gaming. That's not, mobile gaming is still gaming. Stop being those assholes that, oh, you're not a real gamer. Who cares? What is a real gamer? Like, I don't know. I just don't be a dick about it. Enjoy, share what you can, and enjoy and appreciate what they have, because you never know what they can bring to you.
It's true. So you got the next one, man.
All right. So don't worry about getting overwhelmed. Games are supposed to be fun. You don't have to win or even be good when you're gaming. Really, just enjoy. Like, let them enjoy. If they're like, you know what, I absolutely want to get into this extremely competitive, Rainbow Six, like all this Siege, whatever. Like, if they want to get into that, don't say no. You can't do that. They don't care about their, being the best at that time. They're learning, they're trying. Let them do it. Just let them have fun. If they don't want to do those kind of games, that's fine. Just let them. Don't worry about being the best. There's always going to be better.
Yeah, and also maybe not necessarily don't worry about getting overwhelmed, but just don't let yourself get overwhelmed, and don't let it. Because like a bit, my wife has told me sometimes, because I'm a stubborn gamer. Like, I'll start a game and then I'm like, I gotta finish it. She's like, you're not even having fun, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. I'm not having fun. This is kind of balls. I'm gonna put this down, play something else, and I've like pieced out of a game for a while, just taking a break, because it wasn't worth it to me to like actually like have to try and figure out how I'm going to try and have fun with this game,
Yeah, like, gaming should be fun. You can be competitive, you can be super into it, but it should be fun. As soon as it stops being fun and enjoyment for you, that's when you need to change your mindset. And people need to understand that with trying to get other people in it. If it's not fun for them, it's not fun, and they don't want to do it. So
that being said, we have a list of different types of games for different types of people. So we have a bunch of different genres, and we have a couple examples for each one. Just different types of games that if you are looking for a game that might fit your bill, whether it's for you or somebody else, we have a few that might be a good answer for you. Okay. So first off, we have like our laid back games, the chill games. And Josh, what are those?
The games that you can just kind of play whenever, like for what we have listed is Minecraft, Flower, Journey, Animal Crossing. Those games that they don't really have a lot to them to be okay in and just enjoy, but you don't have to actually, like, they're just more casual.
Yeah. So the next one are like social games that require a community one way or another. And that's games that are usually online play, multiplayer. A really big example are games like Call of Duty, Fortnite. But on a different level, Smash has this very large tournament group Smash and everything. Smash Brothers. Sorry.
You know, the terminology. If this is lingo. New to you, Super Smash Brothers on, all the Nintendo since 64. Yeah. It's a fun beat 'em up game that is easy to play and easy to get good at, but easy to enjoy.
And one that is definitely not necessarily an intro level type of game, but it's something that is very, very social and community based is MMORPG, which is massive multiplayer online role playing games. The most popular one that anyone could probably think of would be World of Warcraft. That is one where you have a character and you have a community and you all play together online and you go towards mutual goals, whether it's raiding a dungeon or fighting a major boss. And so those are social games where you're going to be interacting a lot and you're going to be interacting with the community. And every community is a little bit different. And so that's something to keep in mind when you're doing social games.
Yeah. And also, you don't have to play the game to, be Dungeon Raider, all that. Like, I had a friend that he just played, I can't remember. I think it was Final Fantasy 14, 11 at the time. All he did was he just crafted stuff. He pretty much crafted and sold stuff, and he kind of became this little weird guild of merchant. Like, it was crazy. It was really weird, but he had a great time and he just wanted to do that. And he was a really low level experience wise, but he just had a great time with it. So really play the games how you want, especially if you're playing with friends.
Yeah.
Next one is story driven stuff. Like, if you like, I personally, like, we've both talked about this. We personally believe video games have a lot of story to tell. Like, you can get into a game and play 25, 30 hours pretty simply with some of these story games and get this amazing story that you couldn't even get out of a TV or a movie. Like, more closer to a book type of story. So what we have right now on here is BioShock. BioShock is a very beautiful and creepy game, but it's an amazing story. And then Adam knows Witcher 3. That's that story that he absolutely loves. And there's plenty of games that you can get into. Like, if you like different genres, they're out there. Fantasy, urban fantasy, they're out there.
Yeah, to throw on there also, The Last of Us is very story-based. Like, sure, it's an action game, but the story itself is one of the reasons why it's so popular. Another one, Life is Strange, is literally practically just you're essentially playing through a movie. It's incredible, and there's different types, like Josh is saying. Like, you have just at the same amount of genres you have for movies and books when it comes to stories, you have them with video games. So that's something you can look at. Those are just a few off the top of our head.
Also, real quick on this, like, there are abilities to turn down the difficulty. Like, I started playing the new God of War and I was super into it, but I did not like the gameplay of it. I was having a really hard time connecting. I took it down to the story mode, which is less than easy, and it all of a sudden became a super fun game to me because I wasn't stressed and worried about all that. Just
legitimately, I think that's a great idea.
Like, and never, ever, ever judge people for that. Like, no. I've been playing games most all of my life. Maybe the first 2 or 3 years I didn't, but that was it. I played games ever since then, and I still go back and play the story, level of games because it's just more fun.
Yeah, I have no problem if I'm playing a game for a story to go on easy mode, especially if I'm playing a game a second time for just the story. Like, I don't want to get bogged down with difficulty if I'm there to immerse myself in the world. And so I have no problem, never feel bad about going to easy mode because, especially also when it comes to horror games, I don't mind easy mode. I like to play for the story. I like being scared, but also I don't like the stress of constantly dying in a terrified way. Unless I'm in the mood for that kind of challenge, easy mode is the way to go.
Yeah, but there's also the, some of those games, like the only way you're going to be able to survive is literally like hide for 15 minutes every,
Yeah.
20. And that just, when it becomes not fun, that's not a good gaming situation for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is what you want. Sometimes you want that achievement.
Yeah. A challenge.
In our next one, we have shooters. Like, I feel good that I spent the time and effort to do Legendary Halo. It was fun. It was enjoyable. Yeah. And I got to do it with my friends. But yeah, there was a lot of, oh, my shields are gone. I'm going to go and sit in the back for these 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that, so the next category is shooters. And that is something that, once again, you can go on an easier mode. Halo is obviously a really good one. Destiny's another good one. These ones are both co-op. Another good co-op one that is technically a shooter, but also it's like an over-the-shoulder type shooter. Gears of War. That was another co-op one that was really, really fun. That's one that, like, I think that shooters, when you start off by just playing multiplayer versus, it can be really boring really quick for somebody who's not into shooters. Yeah. But if you're playing for a common goal at the beginning, that's an easy way to kind of introduce them, and they don't feel like it's just them against everybody.
Yeah, and one of the things, like, I put Destiny on here for sure. Like, there were a lot of times where my buddy and we were not doing anything, but then we would come in on an instance and save that person that was trying. He'd been dying over and over and over and just couldn't pass that, instance or whatever, part. And us being able to come in and save him, that gave us, super, like, it just made you feel good. But also, like, that dude, like, that guy was so grateful because he had been struggling on it and he wasn't going to be able to do it. And look for those instances where you can actually go and connect with other people and enjoy. Like, those are big. That makes you feel good.
So you do the next one because you have more examples like that. You've played more examples.
So the simulation games are the next. Is Sims, Animal Crossing, Stardew Valley,
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah, like all these games. There's a lot out there. A lot of these simulation, just like building. I mean, there's Minecraft. Like, go and just build your castle. Like, it's cool. It's fun. It's enjoyable. And it can just be a good pastime.
Yeah. What's really interesting is a lot of people like these simulation games because it is them creating something out of nothing. They're building a world rather than experiencing a world. And it's a cool way to it's definitely a unique type of game style. And so it's something that it's worth giving a shot.
Well, and also I'm going to even put in the simulation in this, like, connect to other parts of a game. Like, something that I was not expecting. I started playing Watch Dogs and I was liking the game. I really liked Assassin's Creed at the time, but I started connecting with that game. And all of a sudden my wife's like, wait a minute, where does this take place? And I was like, oh, it's in Chicago in the future. And she's like, really? She's like, I recognize that building. And we spent hours with me just driving around in a car and her showing me Chicago. And it was the craziest thing because when we actually went to Chicago, like, I knew the area. Like, she was like, oh, well, this area is a little bit different. This is what's actually here. And she'd show me a picture on, Google Maps or something like that. That was the coolest thing. It was like,
that's we connected, so cool.
But it wasn't of the game. It was just a connection to it.
That's awesome.
So simulation doesn't necessarily have to be just those games, but you still can. Anyways, next one's yours.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're going to get anybody into this as the first point of contact with gaming, but horror games, there are a lot of good ones and they all play a little bit differently. If you want more action oriented, the Resident Evil 4, Evil Within kind of games are really great. If you want more survival, you got games like Outlast, or a couple other ones where there's no weapons that you have to literally just survive. some people say The Last of Us falls in here. It kind of does, kind of doesn't. But horror games are just a different type of element that either you like them or you don't, and you learn pretty quickly whether you like them or you don't. Descent is a really good one. Amnesia, Dark Descent, I mean, that one's a really good one. Layers of Fear is really scary. So I mean, you'll know pretty quickly if you like the type of gameplay or not with horror games. But can't hurt to try.
Also, I'll add into this. I was doing a convention and I was talking to a couple guys, and they were actually inviting me to do the convention, the horror convention. And I was like, you know what? I'm more of a gamer. I'm not really into, scary movies and stuff. Trying to lightly say that I'm a scared little girl when I watch that stuff. But they're like, oh yeah, we've got a lot of people that play just horror games, and that's what they do at the con. And I hadn't really thought of that. Like, maybe this is a perfect game to get someone into it. If you've got a horror movie buff, putting them into the shoes of someone might be mind blowing for them.
Yeah, that's not a bad approach to it, actually.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you got the next one, man.
This is more you, man. Like RPGs, like role playing games. Getting into these games that it's an entire story. Like we've got Final Fantasy here, but there's so many. Like there is lore out there in video games that will rival most books by far.
Yeah. And I think that RPGs are the most in-depth ones probably you're going to find.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And you've got, like, that was the thing for Destiny for me is I found out later, yeah, this was an RPG. They just had a lot of the elements online in their website. Like, but there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, the Final Fantasy worlds, they're some of the most beautiful fleshed out worlds. Like, I would say just under the whole Dungeons and Dragons kind of concept, they take, world building to an amazing level, but Final Fantasy has been great for that. They've done really well on that.
Yeah, it's something, and obviously Final Fantasy is one of them. There are a ton of different ones. There are the Eternal Sonata games. There are like they have modern day ones and they have older ones. They have ones based on movies, like Lord of the Rings had an RPG game even. You can find a lot of them, and it really is about building a world and telling a story with those kind of games.
Yeah, and you just need to find that connection and, find out what you want on that. The next one is all you, man.
Yeah, so the next one is real-time strategy games. The first one that pops up usually is game like XCOM or Civilization. Those are ones where you're commanding an army or soldiers, and each one has a turn, and you're essentially moving in a tactical way. A really interesting one that's kind of been like a sleeper hit is on Nintendo Switch. There's one called Rabbids Kingdoms, and that is Mario characters and the Raving Rabbids from, what is it, Rayman?
Yeah.
It's a battle game like XCOM where you have soldiers, but instead of soldiers, you have Mario and Luigi and Peach, and you're essentially trying to take back the kingdom, it seems. And like, I've heard nothing but good things about that one. It's on my list to buy, but I've yet to buy it. But
from what I understand, it's extremely accessible to the RTS genre.
Yeah.
And so you're connected with these characters that you're already connected with. Seriously, like those are cool. I mean, I played a lot of Civilization on my phone for years, and that was just super fun for me. I sucked at it, but it was fun.
Yeah.
But
so go ahead and go with the next one, man.
So the next one is, you got it down as casual, but it's just kind of like those games that are just kind of simple and easygoing. Like, you may even think they're almost kid games. You've got Mario Odyssey on there, like just the games that you're just kind of chill, relaxed into playing a story, kind of.
Yeah. The reason why I said Mario Odyssey is that it's one of the games that it feels like very, very accessible to anybody who's ever played a game or never played a game. You can throw it in there and be like, hey, you're Mario, you have a magic hat, and then they can kind of find their own way through it. So casual games are ones that, like you said, you can kind of pick up and you can play, and it's just a little more easygoing.
Well, with this, there's also the Mario games that are just the side scroller. They're just updated in new versions. So like if you haven't played many games since like Super Nintendo, and you loved Mario World, check out the new ones. Some of them are amazing. Like,
yeah.
I played through with my wife Mario Wii and the one on Wii U. Like, it was just super fun. I mean, it was old side-scrolling fun, but that's it.
Yeah. So the last one, it's not like necessarily a genre, but I think that this is kind of what really can make gaming fun, and that is fantasy or like really strong fiction, like worlds that they can build, whether it's fantasy or sci-fi or whatever. Games where they can have a really immense story that's built outside of the realm of reality. Those are kind of the games that I'm talking about in general.
Yeah. Or technically they could be connected to reality. Like we talked a little bit about Horizon Zero Dawn. Like,
yeah,
those kind of games, like letting a world build and kind of discovering that world can be a super great thing for gaming.
Yeah. So the first two that I have on here off the top of my head was a favorite of Josh's and a favorite of mine, and that's Breath of the Wild and Witcher series. Both of them are gigantic worlds, super immersive, and they are just captivating storytelling.
Yeah, and they've got such cool worlds that you can just run around in and look at. And I mean, with Breath of the Wild, that's what I did a lot of the times. Like, I'd get into new areas and I'd just look around. I mean, granted, that game is built perfectly for that because there's giant towers that you get up and you can just see everything. It's just fun to look at.
Yeah. But anything that builds those worlds, like they have sci-fi ones as well. I mean, it's a way to get into like really immersive gaming and storytelling. That's what I kind of left it at.
Yeah. And I mean, there are plenty of ones out there. I mean, the Fallout worlds have been insane to learn about. I mean,
Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, and just there's a lot of different stuff. Assassin's Creed, like,
yeah,
I actually read an article about this older couple that they got a system. It was a 360 at the time, but they bought that and they got Assassin's Creed so they could walk around these places that they had visited earlier in their lives but couldn't go again. And so they would walk around the city of these places that they remembered.
That's cool.
I thought it was such a cool, because I was playing one of the Assassin's Creed, and then we were watching a movie, The Italian Job, and at the beginning he's walking across that plaza, and I was like, wait a minute, I know right where that is. And I could connect to that. And so you find different connections different ways that way.
That's so cool.
So anyways, like, gaming is it's a fun, good pastime that, as long as you're not judging and you're not trying to push other people or push yourself, really, like, you can find a lot of enjoyment. And that's one of the reasons why we did this podcast, because it means a lot to us.
Yeah. And if it's a way that you can kind of share that kind of, if you can share one of your passions and you can create a connection for them, and then it's something that you guys can both do, that's awesome. And we're happy for you.
Yes. So yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's our list. Anyway, feel free, like, subscribe, Facebook, Instagram. If you have a question or a suggestion, go ahead and email us at geekreloading@gmail.com.
Also on this, we would love to hear any stories. If you've gotten your significant other or how you got into gaming, let us know. We'd love to hear about those things. And maybe we'll do another episode with other ideas that we just missed out on.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that maybe we'll do a follow-up one with our significant others, and they can speak for themselves. Because we're like, yeah, we think this worked out.
They did this. They did. Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Anyway, we hope you had fun, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Geek Reloading Podcast with Adam and Josh. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Have a question? Email us at geekreloading@gmail.com. Theme song titled Rocket by Kevin MacLeod. You can rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on your preferred podcast service.